Today, we are discussing a major shift in the justice system of the United States. Today, President Trump's recent firing of all U.S. attorneys just occurred, and I'm going to show you a news broadcast that broke that news today. However, let me be very clear about something. This is not about taking a political stance. This is not just about Trump, nor is it solely about Biden or any one administration that has occurred. What we are witnessing today has been years in the making, with policies and precedents that were laid down by previous leaders from both political parties. Now, many people don't know this, but the practice of U.S. presidents replacing U.S. attorneys for political reasons has a very long history, reflecting the intersection of law and politics in the United States. U.S. attorneys as federal prosecutors are appointed by the president and serve at their discretion, making transitions in these positions very common, especially during changes in administration. There are several historical examples. For example, in 2006, the Bush administration dismissed 7 U.S. attorneys, leading to significant controversy and allegations of political motivations behind those firings. But you can go even further back. In 1973, during the Watergate scandal, President Nixon's dismissal of Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox, known as the Saturday Night Massacre, highlighted the potential for political interference in judicial matters. In fact, you can go back further. In 1841, Attorney General John Crittenden resigned due to political disagreements with President Tyler, illustrating early instances of political considerations influencing those positions. So these examples demonstrate the intertwining between political considerations with the appointment and dismissals of U.S. attorneys. So this is nothing new. It's a phenomenon that has been a part of the U.S. political landscape for centuries. So our goal today is not to engage in that political debate, but to ask really a deeper question. Does this move align with warnings that Jesus gave in Matthew 24 and the prophecies of Revelation 13? Are we seeing the setup for something greater, something more prophetic? Because we're seeing something more dramatic today. So let's take a look at that news broadcast right now.
And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. We do have breaking news to get to. Let's get into more of these top headlines. So President Trump posted on Truth Social mere minutes ago this statement. I want to read it in full here. It's brief. He says this: over the past 4 years, the Department of Justice has been politicized like never before. He says, therefore, I have instructed the termination of all remaining Biden-era U.S. attorneys. He says we must clean house immediately and restore confidence. America's golden age must have a fair justice system. And he says that begins today. So the Justice Department, according to Reuters, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Last week, the White House sent termination notices to several U.S. attorneys around the country who had been appointed by President Biden. On Monday, several U.S. attorneys appointed by Biden announced they were stepping down. Others left the government just last week. Now, it is customary for U.S. attorneys to step down after a change in a presidential administration. Usually, though, the incoming administration asks for their resignations and does not issue tersely worded termination letters. That's according to current and former DOJ lawyers. So this was somewhat to be expected by President Trump, making it official there. He has instructed the termination of all remaining Biden-era U.S. attorneys. Now, remember, before Trump was sworn in January the 20th, in one of the biggest jurisdictions, that's the Southern District of New York, then U.S. Attorney there, Damian Williams was his name. He announced his resignation and that he would be leaving the office before something like this took place. And remember, his tapped successor in that very office, Danielle Sassoon, she resigned her post last Thursday over this memo drafted by attorneys at the DOJ, including Emile Beauvais, to ask a federal judge to dismiss the indictment against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. So it's interesting how a lot of these stories are interrelated and linked. Of course, we wanted to make sure we got this on your radar. This is of a piece, though. With the new administration, this happens. The president and his deputies and his aides, they get to put who they want in whatever position here. But the hiring and firing headlines that Doge is generating continue apace. We'll get to that in just a moment here. So in the meantime, wanted to get that on your radar.
Now, Jesus warned us that in the last days, lawlessness would increase and a powerful system would rise, influencing governments and controlling people. And so the question is, are we watching the early stages of that system forming before our very eyes? You know, the role of U.S. attorneys and the importance of justice is really pretty much based in Scripture. Proverbs 21:15 says that when justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but it is a terror to evildoers. Well, U.S. attorneys are federal prosecutors responsible for upholding the law in America. Their key roles include several things. Number one, they prosecute major federal crimes such as corruption, fraud, human trafficking, and drug smuggling. But number two, they defend the rights of Americans in civil cases, and they ensure constitutional protections. Thirdly, they work alongside agencies like the FBI, Department of Justice, Homeland Security to investigate and uphold justice. But fourthly, they ensure that laws apply equally to all people without political favoritism. So these individuals play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of justice. But when they are removed in mass firings, whether by Trump or Biden or past administrations, it begins to raise serious concerns. Are these changes being made to uphold justice? Or are these changes being made to consolidate power? So the real danger is not just who is in power today, but rather what kind of system is being set up right now for tomorrow. So there are some concerns that arise when justice becomes political. Clearly, individual rights would be at risk. Isaiah 5 verse 20 say, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness." Now, if attorneys are appointed or fired based on political loyalty instead of legal integrity, this threatens the constitutional rights in multiple ways. Number one, there is a loss of equal justice. 14th Amendment secures that prosecutors base their decisions on who is in power. Some will be punished unfairly while others are excused. In other words, there's no 14th Amendment. Silencing of free speech given to us by the First Amendment. The justice system could be used to target churches, ministries, or individuals who speak out in a biblical way against what is happening. Manipulating due process, the Fifth and Sixth Amendment gives us that. Instead of a fair trial, people could be convicted based on political ideology rather than facts. Well, the rise of authoritarianism. History shows that when leaders use the law to protect themselves and to punish opponents, a dictatorship is often the next step. This is not just a conservative or liberal issue. It is a justice issue that attacks the very undermining of the U.S. Constitution. When justice is used for political reasons, it becomes a tool of oppression. But there are some prophetic connections that we see in Matthew 24 and Revelation 13. For example, Matthew 24 says that when lawlessness increases, the love of many will grow cold. Revelation 13:7 tells us it was granted to the beast to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And so we are seeing a pattern that is aligning with these biblical prophecies. Matthew 24 talks about this lawlessness and corruption. When justice is twisted for political or ideological gain, lawlessness increases according to Scripture. The removal of independent prosecutors could allow unjust laws to go unchallenged. Revelation 13, the rise of an end-time system. This chapter specifically describes a world government that will enforce compliance through economic and political control. Justice systems that answer to political power instead of the law could be easily used to silence believers who resist the end-time system. So what are we seeing right now? Well, it's becoming more clear and apparent that the foundation for the enforcement of politicized laws is already in place. How does this apply to us today? If a government wants to target a specific group, history has shown us that it often starts with legal and law enforcement actions. You know, it's no surprise. We have already seen this right now in our modern day with the ICE raids and the mass arrests. But federal law enforcement has been used to target groups before. For example, in past administrations, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has carried out sudden mass arrests, deporting people without due process. While some cases involve crime, others were innocent people caught up in that sweeping policy. These actions prove that with the right executive orders, entire groups can be hunted down, they can be arrested, and they can be removed based on law enforcement directives. So, if a future group is marked, for example, like Sabbath-keepers, the process is already in place. Revelation 13 warns that those who refuse to comply with the beast system will face persecution. Imagine a time when Sabbath-keeping Christians are labeled as radicals or threats to society. Could federal law enforcement conduct mass arrests of those who refuse to comply with a national Sunday law? Could the justice system be used to prosecute believers simply for obeying God's commands? Well, guess who would be prosecuting these believers? That's right, U.S. attorneys. These are the same individuals who will be the ones prosecuting those marked groups. Just think about it. If future laws require compliance with a global religious or economic mandate, who will prosecute those violators? If the government targets Sabbath-keepers as non-compliant citizens, the newly appointed U.S. attorneys, loyal to the administration, could prosecute them for just breaking enforced laws. So the same way mass deportations are occurring and prosecutions are happening right now, irregardless of their excellent rationales, it's conceivable that religious prosecution could happen in the near future. Listen, the legal system is already capable of mass prosecution. It is simply waiting for the right laws to be put in place. The machinery has already been built. The only thing missing is the law that will target God's people. So what should we do? Micah chapter 6 verse 8 tells us, He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? So there are several things that we need to do. Number one, we need to stay spiritually awake. Jesus told us to watch and to pray. Matthew 26 verse 41 really parses that out. We must stay informed and not allow deception to blind us to the prophetic signs. Secondly, we need to defend justice and truth. As believers, we must be voices for righteousness, speaking out against corruption and injustice, no matter who is in power or who was voted for. Number three, prepare for persecution. If our justice system is moving toward control and compliance, we must be ready to stand firm in our faith and stand before U.S. attorneys. Number four, trust in God's ultimate justice. No matter what happens in human courts, we serve a higher judge. Revelation chapter 20, 12 tells us that there will come a day when everyone will stand before the throne of God, where truth and justice will be done. So where do we stand right now? Brothers and sisters, I will tell you that justice is literally in the balance right now. This is not just about Trump, Biden, or any other politician. The real issue is that justice is being reshaped in ways that could set the stage for prophetic fulfillment. So brothers and sisters, we are living in prophetic times. Let us be vigilant. Let us be courageous. Let us be faithful. And let us trust that the true judge is coming soon. God is greater than all of this.